Welcome to another episode of Curious Mike. I am here with Lana Rhoades. So people are going to be surprised that we're on a podcast together. But I actually came across one of your podcasts that you used to do because I was messing with one of your friends, and she sent me the podcast, and you were talking about just the dark sides of the adult film industry and the porn industry, which you used to be a part of. And it really I was really interested and honestly inspired by your story. So that's kind of why I want to have you on. And I appreciate you being vulnerable and coming on the podcast.
No, thank you. That's so sweet.
Yeah, no, for sure. So let's start off just with your childhood. I feel like a lot of people who end up in the sex industry at all kind of have an unorthodox kind of upbringing. Was yours a usual upbringing, or how'd that go growing up?
So there's a lot of things that I've come to terms with recently that I didn't even realize were wrong in my childhood.
Yeah.
Like the past year, I've started going to therapy, and I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Mm-hmm. And I've been through so many things that I was like, oh, maybe this caused it or this caused it.
Yeah.
And the one thing that really, I feel like if you don't have borderline BPD, you won't understand the feeling. Mm-hmm. But basically to figure it out, I had to go back and think, when was the first time that I had this feeling that no one loves me, and just overwhelming emotions to the point where it feels like you have to hurt yourself in some way. And so that was came from just when you're a young child and you're developing your attachment to parents or emotional regulation skills. Mm-hmm. If people invalidate you, say you're crying and your parents yell at you to make you stop, or they hit you, and I'm talking 2-3 years old, obviously you should never hit your kids. Mm-hmm. It can cause that. And I just had no idea. I actually thought that everyone's parents hit them. And I really thought that. I thought maybe it just started young doing it. Yeah. And I asked a couple of my friends, I was like, how old were you when your parents hit you for the first time? And they're like, what? My parents never hit me. Mm-hmm. So there's just a lot. And then I have a sister who has schizophrenia too. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I wasn't dealt the best hand of cards when it comes to family circumstances, which definitely contributed to the decisions that I made when I was older. Because if your brain is just completely warped from going through so much, going through certain things can actually change your brain chemistry and
100%, yeah.
and damage it. And so I don't think that I would have made the decisions that I made if I was in a better state of mind. Because I only was in the industry for a short period of time. And that was because I finally was able to get away from where I was living and be separated and live my own life and experience the world and kind of heal, because I wasn't in that constant.
Right. Did you have your father around or no?
No. My parents got divorced when my mom was pregnant with me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously growing up was tough. I had a woman on the podcast who also, she kind of ended up in the industry. She actually was trafficked. And she had a similar childhood. I don't think she had a father figure around, and her upbringing wasn't the best, and it led her to hanging around some people and idolizing certain things. And she ended up, in a really messed up situation. So, you go through that childhood, and then I think your teenage years is when you kind of started getting into the industry. How did that kind of unfold? What was the steps that you took to even, get into that?
Well, yeah, it was kind of a progressive ladder effect. I started out working at a restaurant similar to Hooters when I was 17. And it's not that I don't know my dad at all. I just don't spend a lot of time with him. But he signed the paper so that I could work there, because it's a restaurant where you have to wear a sexy outfit, and I wasn't even 18.
Right.
So that was like my first like kind of job where men sexualize you and look at you in that way. And I never thought that I was like pretty or anything growing up. So I was like, wow, they hired me here. Like I'm pretty enough to work here. And then like guys coming up to me and giving me $20 and being like, you're so hot, here's $20. It was just like, it was so weird to me, but also validating because I didn't have that self-esteem. Right. So I kind of went further down the rabbit hole. When I turned 18, I left that job and I went straight to becoming a dancer at a club. And then after that, it was porn.
Right. And I don't want to spend too much time kind of in that period of your life, which is a very brief period. I think total, you said you filmed around 8 months? Total?
Yeah, like 2 4-month stints.
Got you. What I really kind of want to get at is the fact that, you know, in terms of being a porn star, like you had everything that any girl in that industry would want. You know, you got the fame, you got the popularity, probably were making more money than most girls. And you kind of threw that all away and now are kind of an advocate like against a lot of this stuff, and you speak openly and you're very passionate about kind of what goes on in the dark sides of the porn industry and how it's not everything kind of isn't as it seems. So what kind of brought about your change in perspective?
Just actually had an experience so I started doing OnlyFans again, and I had an experience last night with another girl that reminded me of how I felt in those times. So it's like I actually couldn't sleep last night because I was just so hurt by this happening. Me and one of my good girlfriends, we went live on OnlyFans last night, and I just like recognized this facial expression that she had, that she looked so uncomfortable. And this was our 3rd time doing it. Like, we're friends, like we like kiss off camera and stuff. So I wasn't expecting it, but I was like, are you okay? Like, are you comfortable? And she's like, oh, I just have anxiety. And then she like went off to the side and started just bawling. And I turned the live off, and it's just such, like, I feel honestly destroyed that I even like had like any part in someone feeling not comfortable with what they were doing. And also like she was explaining to me that like she needs to make money for certain things, so she feels like she doesn't say no to all the things that she would want to. And it's probably good that this experience happened with me, because I have been through that so much myself that I was able to give her really good advice, even though it's something that like literally killed me inside to be part of. But that's essentially what it was. It's a bunch of really young girls who get into the industry. Like, the younger, the better for them. These girls, like, when I started, I looked like a little kid. Like, I looked like a little kid. And that's what they like. That's what sells. And a lot of girls, even my friends, we don't feel comfortable saying no for some reason. Because we just, I don't know, it's just like a natural girl thing. I think we're taught as children to like be obedient, especially to like men, or like if you're raised in a religious family, like it's always like obey your father, stuff like that. And so it's a really big problem with girls feeling pressured by like agents who don't necessarily have their best interest in mind, and end up doing a lot of things that really hurt them. Like for me, there are certain scenes that I did that I felt like I didn't say anything to them because it's work and I wanted to be professional. But for example, when the camera would be behind me and you couldn't see my face, I would be gagging or crying because I felt like I was being raped, because I did not want to be doing it, and I didn't want to be feeling the things in my body that I was feeling, because I was honestly like disgusted by the person that I was having to shoot with, because you don't get to choose. Right. So it's just stuff like that can be very damaging, and it's not the other people's fault. It's just a huge problem that there's not really anything to set up to protect girls that are young and vulnerable, that don't know how to say no, or don't like have self-respect for themselves yet, or care for themselves or love themselves because they've been through so much and like taught not to.
And I feel like a lot of people, you know, I don't know if you guys receive the backlash like, oh, you guys chose to do this or whatever, but when you're in your teenage years and then you're around these older men, I'm sure they're all older.
Yeah, they're all in their 40s. They know exactly like how to get you to do what they want to make them money.
And then you guys don't even really make much, I'm sure.
No, it's pickles. Like, I was the #1 porn star, and my rate was $1,200 for a sex scene.
Yeah, and you
$1,200.
That's unbelievable.
But obviously, like, a lot of these girls are coming from like small towns. Like, their families probably don't have money. Like, I thought $100 at the time was like so much money.
Right.
So getting $1,200 was like a big deal. But then I met this boy who worked in, not the guy that I ended up dating for a long time, but I met this other boy that worked in like YouTube and Instagram. And he shared with me that he was getting $15,000 to pose with a Jeep on Instagram.
Right.
And I was like, I'm getting $1,200 for a sex scene.
Yeah.
This is not okay.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing, like this industry, like it continues to take off, you know, as time goes on, you know, more people are exposed to it at a younger age. It's like porn is a real life addiction for a lot of people, but a lot of these young men that are introduced to it, they don't really know kind of behind the scenes what you guys deal with. They look at these girls on camera and think like, oh, they're enjoying it. This is what they like. This is, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important for people like you, especially super successful people like you that decided to leave, like to kind of educate young men, and I guess young women now. I saw a stat that, you know, a lot of young women watch porn too, but just that that's not what it is. It's glamorous, and it's not like it's not what it appears to be, kind of.
Yeah, definitely. It was like, you could not tell at all that I felt the way that I did in the certain scenes, because it's a job. It's acting, and like I had like pre-planned things that I was going to say during the scenes, like facial expressions that I was going to make, things that I was going to do, because it's fake.
Right.
It's fake. And I also think like the point that you made, that the guys don't understand what's going on behind the scenes, and then also that people are like, oh, you knew what you got into, and like you get backlash for talking out about it. I think it's because men like consuming porn, and they don't want to feel guilty for consuming it. And so they don't want to hear that I felt the way that I felt. And they refuse to believe that I'm not like a giant whore that wants to get like fucked by like a bunch of big dicks.
Right.
Like, I'm the biggest prude in real life.
How did you, because I know a lot of women that are in that industry, it's very hard to get out, or like you almost feel like you're stuck. And even the girls that do, sometimes the only way out to them may seem like suicide. Like, I saw a stat on your podcast where it was like the average life expectancy of someone in the sex industry for a woman is about 37, and the average life expectancy outside of that industry is 78, I think. And I was just like, how is that possible? So obviously a lot of these girls feel like there's no way out. Yeah. How were you able to kind of get out and kind of just like, I guess, find your identity outside of the industry?
I mean, I had to, or it probably would have led to that point of like killing myself. Because I started, like, towards the end of it, I started having panic attacks, like, before scenes, because I really didn't want to do them, and I didn't know how to say, no, I don't want to do this. So there really was no choice for me. It was either, like, probably going to kill myself, or just do anything to, like, make something else work. And this is what I was telling my friend last night, because she was saying that she's, you know, not really happy with doing OnlyFans anymore, and I'm like, she has other passions that she's interested in. I really believe anyone, if they just work towards anything that they want to do, just a little bit every single day, like, you can get there. Just because a lot of people aren't willing to like work every single day and put in the effort, but if you do, it really does pay off. When I quit porn, I only had like 200,000 followers on Instagram. And I met this boy and I was like, okay, I want to do what he does. I want to be an Instagram influencer. And I grew my account to over 10 million in 1 year just by literally asking all my friends, hey, can you take a picture of me today? Hey, can like you help me with this? And just always posting, like working on my Instagram. And then I started getting brand deals, which sustained me so that I didn't have to do any sex work. And then it just progressed over time with the stuff that I do. Like I ended up doing YouTube with my boyfriend, then a podcast, and now I'm doing fashion. So I really think like it doesn't really make sense where I came from in porn to where I am now. And I think it's really just believing that you can and putting in effort every single day to get there.
Yeah, I mean, I find that kind of inspiring because I know a lot of people, you hear the term selling your soul for fame or money or whatever, but like the fact that you were the number one porn star and then you chose to kind of like let all that go. Like I know I've talked to some rappers who do the music, and they talk about how they don't really want to be making the type of music they do. They don't want to talk about the violence or the whatever. They would rather be a positive message, but the reason that they talk about these things is because it sells, and they're making a lot of money, and they know if they change their message or whatever, they wouldn't be as successful. And it's similar in your story because you were doing all that, but you decided to step down from that and try to find ways to make money or find your identity outside of porn. I feel like that that obviously takes a big like leap of faith, and it's just very hard to do when you kind of have become something, but you want to completely shift away from it. So I admire you for that.
Thank you.
And that's kind of why I wanted to, talk to you about this. But yeah, I think one thing that my sister mentioned was as this porn industry kind of increases, you also see like an increase in just the human trafficking, the sex trafficking as well, which I find that to be like, I mean, it's probably pretty obvious why they grow together, but have you seen that? Can you speak on that? Or why do you think the rise in porn also equals the rise in the human trafficking? How do those kind of collide together?
I personally haven't experienced human trafficking, or the closest like that I've ever been to meeting someone who has was I went to juvie when I was a teen, and really like it's really sad. They're some of the most beautiful, amazing girls that I met in there, and they were like 12 years old, and like their parents had been like pimping them out since they were like 11. And like this one girl looked like a model. She was so beautiful, and like this was happening to her because her parents did dope. And so they were pimping out their 11-year-old daughter. And I remember at one point she like there was like something on her butt or something, and like she wanted me to look at it, and like she bent over and she didn't have like underwear on, and like because if girls like get raped very young or like have to have sex, it can like ruin their vagina. And it was just like, I felt so bad for her because she was only 12, and it looked like just I don't know. So it's hard, but that's the closest experience that I've had with that. I'm not like too educated on what's going on with.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Now I was just curious about that. So what advice would you then give to, so I guess a lot of girls are then going into this industry, obviously by free will. So what advice, being where you are now and seeing what you've seen, what advice would you then give girls who are considering going into the industry?
There's a few things. One, my experience and other girls' experiences may be different. Like I know girls who supposedly really like doing it, and like that's fine for them to like doing it. The difference between me and those girls that I've noticed is that before I did porn, I was only with one guy. Like I didn't hook up with people. Right. I still like have to be in love with someone to want to like be physical with them. And the other girls, before they did porn, the ones who like tend to like it more, it's because they're already doing like gangbangs in their personal life, or like being very sexually active already. And so it like makes more sense to them.
They were like already thoughts.
Yeah, yeah, they were already doing it. And so they're like, why not make money off of it? And it's something that they enjoy, supposedly. I mean, I'm sure like some of them have had like days on set that didn't go well.
Yeah. Do you feel like, so then what do you think contributes to the girls who end up in that industry doing so many drugs, or the suicide rates? Why do you feel like that is so high then? Do you just feel like there's a lot of girls that do feel like you? Or do you just feel like, what do you think happens?
Kind of going back to like what happened with my friend last night. She didn't want to be doing it, but she felt like she needed money. And so like the piece of advice that I gave her was just, if there's a piece of yourself that you don't feel like you can give, don't give it for anything, because that's going to end up like fucking you up so bad in the long run. Yeah. And like I know, because I gave way too much of myself that I didn't want to. And like no money is worth doing that, really. Right. And I imagine like the girls wanting to kill themselves or like taking drugs, like even just to deal with it, like to do the scenes maybe if they don't want to be doing it, so they can like disassociate, because they just need to like make money to sustain themselves at that point. Also, like if your body, it's just not natural for people, I think, to be having sex with people that they don't know and that they're not attracted to. And also, like, even if you do like doing sex work, there might be a day where you don't like having sex, or you don't want to be sexual, and you still have to do it anyway. So it's a bit traumatizing to share your body in that way, because it's such an intimate thing. Right. And it's just not natural to be doing.
No, 100% agree.
That stuff's like, imagine like you just meet someone in the lobby and like you're not attracted to them at all, and it's like, okay, now you have to fuck them and pretend that you like it.
Right. No, that's definitely
it's tough. Awful.
It's crazy. No, it's definitely crazy to think about. It's definitely I mean, I think it's something obviously more intimate, but I think, I'm sure guys in the industry, they probably don't process stuff the way females do. Like they're in there living their best life, probably. Like
that's so some of them. So like maybe when they first got into it, but a lot of them do have problems too. Like there's like these injections that guys have to do before the scenes. Like they can't even get hard anymore.
Right. Yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah. Actually. So they have to like shoot up their dick with some sort of stimulant. I don't know what it is. Or I did date one guy when I was in the porn industry who was like a director, and he performed in his own scenes. And they get, which I've seen this with like celebrity men too that have hooked up with a lot of girls. They get so like numb to just regular sex or just women that they end up having like these like really intense fetishes because they can't like get off to normal things anymore. Like I've met guys who like being peed on, who buy cookies with poop in them off the internet and watch girls pooping.
Honestly, like, I know what you're talking about, because even in the NBA, like you talk about, and this is why I think like porn is dangerous, but also hooking up with too many people and because you get desensitized to the normal thing, and this happens in the NBA. Like I hear wild stories about some of these dudes, but like you said,
oh, trust me, I know.
other celebrities too, that their fetishes get so crazy. They might be a straight man, but they've done so much stuff with so many pretty girls, and they have so much access to pretty girls that now they're over here messing with trannies, or now they're over here messing with dudes, and it's like, it's crazy to think about. And I think the porn industry has a part to play in that, because you watch when you first get introduced to it, just seeing a girl naked might be enough for you, but then you keep watching it, and now you're looking at the craziest things, and now normal sex in real life doesn't do it for you.
Well, definitely. And also, how old were you the first time that you saw porn?
Man, my mom caught me too. But I really didn't watch. I just looked up, like, I think I probably was in, like, I don't know, maybe when I was like 11 or 12, maybe 13.
So like so young to
and
where
I just
you
looked up like
haven't...
naked girls or something like that.
Yeah, like you like
but I was
Google
like,
boobs or something.
I was like, all I saw was a naked girl. I was like, but then like, yeah, so I understand, like.
But imagine like being young and having no sexual experience yourself, and then you watch like a porn scene for the first time, and then you think that's what sex is, like this like wild performance. Like I think one of the first sex scenes I saw was like Sasha Grey, and like she was like wild, like licking toilet seats, doing like double anal gangbangs, and so like, this is what I saw, and like I thought when I like first hooked up with my husband, which is the only person that I slept with before porn, I thought that like how you suck a dick was like what I saw on camera, which is like, oh, you have to like deep throat it. Like everything that I thought about sex was what I watched, which now I've learned like that's not even what I like at all.
Hold on, so you was married before you went into porn?
Yeah.
So you were married at like what, like 17?
At 18.
Oh,
I met
wow.
him a week before I turned 18.
Got you. That's crazy. But now I feel you. It messes up kind of your perception of what it's supposed to be. And even I think these dudes nowadays, I mean, obviously some girls are into some crazy things, but these dudes that are always watching porn, they think that this is always what a girl wants. And now they're going to these girls and not knowing really what they actually enjoy. And like I said, some of these girls are out here and they're freaks. So they like all that stuff, but not all of them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's really detrimental to young men. And then if they go and they got a girl and the girl doesn't want to do this, now they can't even really get off to them. Like I know some dudes that would rather watch porn than hook up with their girlfriend because their girlfriend may not do all the things that they're seeing on the screen. I feel
that's
like
actually wild.
That is super unhealthy.
Yeah,
like,
no, that's... Also, I don't know how I would feel about that as a girlfriend.
Yeah, you think that's considered... Because I know a lot of dudes, you know, they might have a wife that's ready in the bedroom, but like she's not doing the things that you see on camera, so they're going to sneak in the bathroom and watching porn. As a woman, do you feel like that would be considered cheating if you were married to a dude?
I personally feel it might also be a BPD thing, like, because you're very sensitive to rejection, but I do get very upset, like, if I have a partner and, like, for whatever reason, they don't want to, like, they, like, reject me for sex, like, it makes me spiral. So, like, I can only imagine, like, if your significant other doesn't want to like fuck you and they're more interested in seeing something else, yeah, it would be extremely hurt. Yeah.
And I feel like that happens so much
like
nowadays.
Rejected and feeling probably just like shit about yourself. Yeah.
That makes sense. But outside, so like now you obviously have kind of turned your life around and you're not doing that anymore. Did it take you a while? I know you talk about how it's super frustrating for you. Anywhere you walk, anywhere you go, people look at you and they see a porn star, and you've been out of that for so many years now. Yeah. Is that, how do you deal with that? And did it take you a while to not be triggered by that? I know it's probably, super frustrating. You're doing your thing outside of that industry now, but how has that gone for you?
I used to care a lot more than I do. Like when I started my podcast with Olivia and Alexa, I kind of did it in a way to like make myself, like I wanted to use it in a way to like show people how I actually was, or like really like focused on like speaking well, to sort of beat the stereotype of like being a dumb porn star. Like I used to really, really care what people think and like trying to prove that I wasn't this stereotype. And then when I got pregnant, like the bullying online got so bad with it that I just became like tuned out to it, and I don't give a fuck anymore. Like I don't give a shit.
I mean, nah. I mean, a lot of athletes have to go through that too. So I feel you. Like,
oh, you guys get hella bullied. Bullied so bad.
people
like
talk
the worst.
crazy to us, and so I know how that feels. And you really eventually reach a point where it's like, man, I don't care what these people are talking about.
No, you can't.
They have no relevance in my life. Why are they so concerned with what I'm doing? Like,
and also, once you start to like truly know who you are and like your morals and values, how can they tell you who you are if you know?
How has being a mother now, and we talked about this before the podcast, everybody says there's speculations who the baby daddy is. And,
people are going to say you're the baby daddy now. They're going to like put side-by-side pictures.
I know, but like when we were in the playoffs, obviously like my teammate Bruce, who that's who I met you through, we all were kicking it somewhere out here in LA. But, like during the playoffs, we would just like, bro, your picture, is this your baby? You know what I mean? But obviously you're keeping that like on the low for a reason. But how has being a mother kind of changed your life and changed your perspective? Do you feel like, has it helped you?
It's kind of like you win some and you lose some,
Mm-hmm.
My pregnancy caused a lot of like health issues that I finally like have gotten under control, and like sort of those also diminished my mental health. Like probably for the past 2 years until recently, I was in like the worst mental health state that I'd ever been in. However, because I grew up in a house with a sister who was extremely mentally ill, and it was like very toxic for me, no matter what, I always make sure to never let my son see that, and to always make sure that whether I'm depressed and stuck in bed, that he has the best nanny taking him to go and do activities if I can't do them with him, or taking him out to dinner, because I don't want the things that I go through to affect him.
Right.
And I really don't think that they do, because I'm super careful about it. But sorry, what was the original question?
No, I was just curious how just being a mother like has just changed your life or perspective.
Well, recently, so I started taking medication, like going to therapy, and the relationship that I have with being a mother is just so great now. Mm-hmm. Like I really look at him and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like so lucky to have you.
Yeah.
Like I just really, really enjoying it. Actually recently, because he usually goes to school, and like I haven't even been wanting to send him to school lately, because I'm like, I need to spend all the time with you.
Yeah. Is the dad like around for real, or like is it just you, or how's that going?
Just me. He's only met his dad one time. And after that, like, the dad wasn't super nice about it. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, I'm not trying this with you anymore.
Was he more mad about the fact that you like had the kid, or like did he not want you to have the kid, or why would I can't imagine, even if it was like a girl who I messed up with and I want nothing to do with her. Like if I had a kid with that woman, I don't care how much I don't like her, I'm still trying to spend time with my kid.
Also, like, it wasn't a one-time thing. Like, he told me that he loved me, like, and then there's like other things that like we had quit talking before I even found out that I was pregnant. And like he might have even had a girlfriend that I didn't know about, which might be like part of it. And so it always was just like, I actually wrote like a poem about this on my Tumblr. He never asked me to get an abortion or anything like that, but constantly throughout my pregnancy, I had never seen him since like the night that we conceived our son. I actually saw him last week for the first time in 3 years. But he would call me during my pregnancy like every few months and be like, hey, like, I'm worried that you're gonna like, people are gonna find out this or that. Like, can you please like do this? Like expecting me to protect him. And I did for so long, just like out of love. Like everyone's like, oh, he paid her money or she has an NDA. Like, no, I don't. Like that's the father of my child. Like I'm not trying to do anything bad to him. Like my son looks just like him. So like no matter what happens, I automatically will always have so much love for him because he's like part of my son.
Right. I think that's honestly like That's every dude who gets a girl pregnant's dream is you could just tell her like, yo, can yeah. Like, the
You
fact
just take care of it yourself.
well, no, not even that. It's more the fact that I think it's crazy how you, I mean, a lot of dudes would pay the girl not to say who it was or just pay the girl to take care of the baby. But like, you just you never have really come out and criticized the father or talked down about the father. You've just, been a mother.
I mean, I've made some jokes online about it that he's gotten
crazy?
mad about. No, nothing crazy. Like I've made like jokes like in passing, like don't have kids with NBA players, or like one time I was like
we're good fathers.
shooting a hoop and I was like, well, I did have NBA DNA in me for 10 months.
Yeah,
and
you gotta chill.
I got a call after that. He did not like those jokes.
Really? Man, nah, that's crazy. One of my last questions for you is, like, you talk about how it's been a process to kind of find an identity like outside of the industry and whatever. And your real name's actually not Lana, it's Amara, correct?
Yeah, Amara.
So if you kind of like, have you ever considered just going and leaving the Lana Rhoades like behind and going by your real name and like, or I just wondered, like, I thought your real name was Lana, and then I was doing some.
Sometimes I think my real name is Lana.
Yeah, I was doing some research before this podcast, and it was like Amara Maple, and I was like, huh, like. And
all
then
my friends call me Lana.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's just it now.
It might be like going back to like the BPD thing, like you really don't have like a sense of identity. So I've never really resonated with like having a name. Like even when I was a dancer, I had Farah as my name. And all my friends called me that I knew from the club. Or Amara, which is what my family calls me. And I think like when I have boyfriends, like sometimes they like switch on and off from using Amara or Lana. But I really don't notice. And sometimes I actually do think that my name is Lana.
Huh. That's interesting. So what going forward for you, like, is going forward, where do you want to go from here? Like, is it just continue with the OnlyFans stuff and the influencer stuff, or do you have other goals in your life going forward, or kind of, where do you go from here?
I want to just keep having something that I'm like impassioned about, and right now it's making clothes and just like even designing my own furniture for my house, or recently writing, which I never thought that I was good at because I dropped out of school in 8th grade. Yeah. But I wrote a few poems on Tumblr and people were like, oh my God, you're like such a good writer. Yeah. And I never thought that I was. So that's helped me a lot recently. Just like always having a passion, and then like if you can find a way to turn that passion into income, like that's obviously amazing. But the most important thing to me is just like being the best mom ever. Like that comes first before anything.
He looks like his baby daddy?
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about writing a book? Like, I feel like
everyone on Tumblr is telling me to. They're like, you're writing so good, you have to write a book.
No, that'd be cool. I mean, I don't know if you'd write fiction or nonfiction, but I feel like your story, it is a good story, like, to get out there. Just because I feel like it helps a lot of people when you can hear from a woman like you who was in the industry but has so much to say about what it's really like. It can kind of, you can't really watch that stuff and look at these girls the same. And I feel like a lot of men like objectify women. It's just like a natural. I don't know if it's definitely not natural, but it's
like culture.
It's part of the culture now, and I feel like a lot of women even nowadays fall into that thinking like, oh, this is just how it is. Like men objectify me. This is what I'm gonna do.
Or like they feel like they have to like have sex with men to get love, or
you live in LA and it's even like these girls, like I know these girls are out here doing anything for acceptance or job opportunities and I just think
or even like a guy like flies them out, they're like, oh my God, he bought me a flight, now I have to have sex with him. Like what? No.
You don't think if a dude fly you out, the girl got to be giving it out?
Fuck no. I've had a guy buy me a private jet to go somewhere, and I didn't hook up with him.
He wasn't hot?
No, it's not. I have some of the most attractive men I've ever seen.
He wasn't mad. Like, he wasn't mad that you didn't...
I don't care. I'm not doing something that I don't want to do.
No, for sure. I'm just saying, like,
like they could be mad all that they want, and if they show that they're mad, then I'm not going to talk to them anymore. So
yeah, that's definitely the I think dudes that are flying girls out, I think that's definitely an expectation. I don't know if it's a good expectation. I think if a dude is like, I'm spending any money on this girl, like, yeah, like,
but
she better be with it.
The girl should not, like, she should feel like she's worth more than whatever money he spent on it, and also not feel obligated to give, like, going back to, like, giving someone something that you don't have to give. Like, if you're not 100% sure that you want to have sex with that person or give your body to that person or be intimate with them for, like, because you really want it, and it's, like, for some other reason, or you're unsure, like, you definitely should not do it.
And it's crazy you say that, because we had I had this conversation with some of my teammates the other day on the bus. We were talking about, like, a girl who we would view as, like, a wifey or, like, a girlfriend, like a girl you would cuff versus a girl that you would just hook up with. And we were like, okay, if she's giving it up the first night, like, how would you view her? And we were kind of like, well, we probably wouldn't wife that girl, because if she's giving it up on the first night, then she probably has done that multiple times. Then we were like, okay, then when is the right time to give it up? Second night, third night, like, for a date, whenever. And it really is, I think, for these girls out there that think that they should be giving it up when a dude is pressuring them, or he does something nice for them, but they really don't have that connection yet.
Yeah.
Like, dudes aren't gonna view you as a girlfriend, or, like, they would never want to cuff you if you're just giving it up right away. So
yeah, no, actually,
your advice is really good.
If you stand on your ground and, like, you respect yourself in that way, like, I've honestly never had any problems with guys being mad about it. And, like, I did porn before, so people automatically assume that I'm going to, like, sleep with people, or, like, that I've slept with, like, all the NBA players that I've hung out with. I've never slept with any of them besides the one that I have a kid with.
Right.
But none of these guys have gotten upset with me for not sleeping with them, no matter, like, what they had bought me, or, like, we've gone on trips together. They tend to respect you. We end up having, like, a respectful, good friendship.
I think, yeah, and I think that these girls nowadays definitely kind of think the opposite. They get pressured, or they want to make a dude happy, or, like you said, that you kind of struggle with the people pleasing thing.
Yeah,
they think that they gotta make this dude happy. But if you really want to, I don't know what these girls want. Some girls just want to be able to say, oh, I hooked up with this guy, whatever. But if you're a girl that really wants to be like a valued by a dude, and not just thought of as like a whatever, like an object, like we've been talking about, then it's not always bad to wait a while.
Also, like, you mentioned having a connection. So perhaps, like, it's not necessarily like, oh, she slept with him too early, but say she does sleep with him before they have that connection, and it's not someone that you actually have that chemistry or a connection with, then it's not going to work anyway. You know, like, you can't force it from having sex with them early. Yeah,
that might mess it up even worse. But, like, if you wait a while, like, now even the sex would probably be better, because you actually got to know them as a person. So. Or
you could decide that you don't want to sleep with them. Like, usually I'll hang out with a guy, like, 4 times, and on the 4th time I know if there's someone that I'm going to, like, be in love with and want to have sex with. Like, if it doesn't happen with the 4th time, I'm like, okay, I don't like him like that.
How has the dating thing been for you, like, since you've kind of left that industry? Is it difficult for you? Is it easy? How does that go?
Dating was easier after than when I was younger, because I had more respect for myself. My last relationship was really good, but I ended up getting pregnant like 2 months after, and then now I just really don't have time for a relationship. Like, I haven't hooked up with anyone since April, which is, like, I was super in love with that boy, but, like, we're not dating or anything, because I don't have time. Like, I can't text a boy all day long. Like, I have to work, I have to take care of my kid. I'm not gonna go out and leave my child every night to go hang out with you. So I just don't have time right now. Do
dudes ever try to hold, because I know dudes are petty. Like, even me, I'm not acting like I'm saying like,
oh, I know.
How do you know?
I've heard your talks there.
Chill. No, I'm talking more like, do dudes try to hold things over your head from the past? Because, like, I know me, like, I could be messing with a girl and I hear something she did in the past or whatever, and it'll still make me mad. I don't know if that's probably not good, but like it'll still make me mad. Do dudes try to hold things?
I mean, that's
over your
probably
head?
something that you need to work on, you know?
Yeah, no, it is. I don't know why I do that.
No, it happens. How old are you?
25.
Oh, see, you're still so young. Like I used
How
to
old are
be,
you?
I just turned 27. But I used to be super like jealous too, and like honestly it changes over time, and you just like when you get older you have like a better understanding of like relationships and connections. And I personally, like if I ever was to be in a relationship, I would never be like, even though I don't want to sleep with other people, I'd never be like, oh, you can't sleep with other people or you have to do this or do that. Because I personally think that it's way more powerful if you believe that you have this like, or you're with someone that you have a really special connection with that you know they can't find somewhere else. And it's more powerful if someone, like they have the options to do whatever they want, but they always choose you.
100%.
You know, so that's kind of like what having that mindset got rid of like that jealousy and insecurity that I used to have. But guys have held it over my head. Me and my ex, we got in a really like crazy fight one night. And actually I've had 2 boyfriends say this to me. They would say, no one's ever going to love you because you did porn and you're a whore.
Seriously. Then why would they, if that's really what they thought deep
well,
inside?
because they try to tell you like, oh, I'm the only one that's ever going to love you, so you have to stay with me.
They're toxic, not me.
Yeah.
That's crazy, yeah. Nah, I definitely, as I've gotten older, I've realized more. I was watching a podcast, I think, do you know a girl named Brittany Rayner? Do you know who that is?
Oh, yeah. No, I love her.
I was watching a podcast. I think she was on there with Andrew Tate. I was watching the podcast and she was talking about just, you know, she's done some things in the past, but she's not doing them anymore. And like, are women like redeemable? Like in the eyes of men, like if they've done things in the past and now they're a whole different person, like, you know, like you, or I don't know if she's changed what she was doing, but like her. And I think Andrew Tate said something like, it just depends on the dude, like, or something. I forget exactly what he said, but I think like the right dude, you know, obviously in a mature man, you know, for me, I've had to think about like, why do I get so mad about something that the girl might have did in the past or who she was messing with in the past? Because I'm a dude who
had no idea she was going to meet you in the future.
And like, I've done wild stuff in the past too. So
exactly.
if a girl was going to hold that over my head, then I would be in trouble because I've done some wild stuff. And I've definitely been a dude back in the day who had like double standards. Like, oh, I can have a crazy past, but she can't have any type of past, so I'm not messing with her. Yeah. But I think, like you said, as you get older and you see people like for who they are, and you kind of like meet them where they're at. Like if you fall in love with this person and you like this person, you got to accept them for who they are, you and what they've done, and
because that's what made them the person that you love.
100%.
All the experiences that they had.
100%. So I definitely think that's something that comes with maturity. But I really appreciate you coming on. I don't like to keep people on here that long. I just, you know, people that I find either inspirational or people that I'm just curious about their stories or whatever, I like to have them on here and just ask a few questions that I'm curious about and then let them go. So I appreciate
Curious Mike.
I appreciate you hopping on the podcast.
Was it inspired by Curious George?
Sierra came up with it. Because I've always just been a curious dude. I'd always ask wild questions and just speak my mind. And honestly, the podcast kind of came about because you know how people on the internet are, and if you tweet something that's kind of like against the norm or you Instagram something, you get like crucified and people don't even know like what you were talking about. They don't know context. Yeah. They'll take like a tweet or whatever and blow it up. So I was like, what if I came out with a podcast and I could have like unfiltered conversations or conversations that people are kind of scared to have or whatever and just be like open? Because I feel like, you know, that creates a space for understanding and more. So that's kind of...
Yeah, you can hope so. Some people never will, though. You can hope so that people understand, but sometimes they never will.
Right, and you got to accept that. But I appreciate you, Lana.
Thank you.
For sure. Curious Mike out.